Hello and welcome to the second Flipped Collaborate session for supporting inclusion for primary. In this session we're going to be looking at Assessment 2, the Team Research Report and Statement, and then we will have a follow-on live session where we will be running through an example analysis of a school statement and its application to Rowan's Transformative Analysis Framework. However, don't worry, if for some reason you can't attend the live session, I'll make sure there's a recording made available to you. Okay, let's get started. So Assessment 2 in a nutshell. The word limit is 2,000 words. So that's the actual submission. It's 500 words for each school statement. There are 3, so that's 1,500 words. And then there's 500 for your individual statement. In order to at least pass this assessment task, you must have contributed to the research surrounding the analysis of one statement to your team's table. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. Your submission is going to have 3 tables with each school statement, so that's 1,500 words, and then you're going to have your own individual statement, that's 500 words. And this is all going to be in one Word document. Now, each member is going to need to submit their own assessment individually, not as a team, because each one will differ slightly because you'll have different individual statements, obviously, with the same table. So you'll copy and paste the 3 tables that you create as a team of the school statements and your team's analysis of this, and then you'll have your individual statement following on from that. And if you do submit it as one Word document, then you're not going to have any issues because there's only one opportunity to submit one thing. Now, the weighting is only 20% for this assessment, which is great, a little one. And it is a team assessment, and so therefore it is relying on all of the team members to contribute so that you can experience success. We will be creating a team discussion board in Canvas for each team as the groups are established. And it's really important that you communicate in the team discussion area so that we can observe and monitor team interactions and provide you some support where needed. And it's due the Monday of week 8. So let's examine the assessment criteria for this task. The first one, knowledge and understanding of pedagogical approaches. So these understandings should be displayed throughout your entire submission, from your interpretation of how each school is employing various teaching practices based upon their broad understanding of inclusive practice, and how they have interpreted relevant policies at a local level, so at the school level, all the way through to your own reflection on your team's findings and how you yourself will adopt those selected pedagogical approaches within your own classrooms and teaching practice. So that's the first one. The second assessment criteria we are looking at is the depth of your research into the connections and recommendations you have made between the theoretical, the broader societal, and the educational contexts that impact on inclusion and wellbeing practices at that school level. Your analysis will have maintained relevance to this context and considered the effectiveness of such practices for your own teaching practice. The third assessment criteria looks at your use of the learning materials and wider research into scholarly literature, so the academic literature, and how you've used this to support and enhance your writing. And the fourth assessment criteria is referring to a university level of academic expression that will be displayed throughout your submission. This means that you will have proofread and revised your work prior to submitting, to ensure it's free from grammatical, spelling and punctuation errors, as well as clearly articulating your findings and reflection on your own future teaching practices. You will have acknowledged your sources of information in APA 6th edition and met all the structural components of the assessment details, including those of the table expectations. Please remember that this assessment is marked by our ELAs with a holistic rubric that has been provided for you in the assessment details, so you know exactly what you're working towards. With these holistic rubrics, as in Assessment 1, all areas of each grade must be achieved prior to moving up to the next grade. So in order for you to achieve a credit result, you need to have fulfilled all of the expectations of a pass grade before moving up to that credit rating. So your assessment's viewed as a whole as we mark it. This slide, hopefully, it clearly displays the assessment process that we're asking you to undertake. It shows the team and individual components of the assessment task. Many successful experiences and outcomes within education are based upon positive collaborative teamwork within a university framework, as you'll be doing in this assessment, is designed to build upon and strengthen your experiences in this area prior to heading into an industry that requires you to work effectively, efficiently, and constructively with your colleagues and other stakeholders. And you would have noticed this during your prac, just how much teamwork is embedded in an educational environment. So this is what we're aiming to strengthen when we do team assessments such as this. The beauty of completing your collaborative work in Canvas means that we can monitor and we can provide you support to your team and any help with any working issues. Let's look at this slide a little more closely. So the initial element of the assessment is to form a team, which you have hopefully done in your learning group already. If you haven't allocated yourself to a team, then please do so. Otherwise, your ELA will allocate you to a group by the end of week 5. It's really important that you do join your group because you need to start collaborating before consolidation week. So you need to have selected one of the 3 school statements each, and then you can start to research your own individual school statement. And this is just the initial process. Then you'll come back together once you've conducted that individual component, so the independent research of your selected school statement in relation to Rowan's transformative analysis. We're going to go through this more thoroughly in week 5 and 6, so you'll have a better understanding of the practical application of Rowan's transformative analysis. So once you've conducted your individual research, you'll come back as a team and present your research to the team, and together you need to complete the table template for each school statement. So there'll be 3 completed tables for your team. So when you collaboratively fill in those tables, you all need to be happy because this is marked as a team. So you all need to work together and be happy with what you come up with. Make sure it flows and there's a consistent approach taken. Then to finalise your assessment, you're going to individually complete your own individual statement, and that's 500 words. And it's in regards to your future pedagogical approaches in relation to what you have found as a team and what you will use in your future teaching practice. Okay, the school statements. Using Rowan's transformative analysis framework, you are to examine the language the schools use to articulate their specific pedagogical practices in relation to inclusion. You're going to quickly see that some schools do this really well and some have room for improvement. Your team of 3 must examine each of these school statements and analyse these in accordance with the questions in the table template based on Rowan's transformative assessment framework. So school statement 1 is a Department of Education primary school in regional Victoria. Statement 2 is a religious primary school and it's a metropolitan school. And statement 3 is an independent K-12 metropolitan school. So the activities within our learning materials for week 5 and 6 are directly related to using this, and they've been designed to scaffold your understandings, to build upon your understanding so that you know what you're doing when it comes to this assessment. This is giving you valuable practice, so please try to complete these activities in week 5 and 6, and you can provide feedback to each other in your learning groups, and your ELA can provide feedback to you prior to attempting this team task for the assessment. So you've been given a range of information for all 3 schools, including their priorities, which are either directly stated or sometimes they're implied in their programs that they've listed. So your task is to focus on how that particular school interprets policies and broader understandings about inclusive practice at a local level, so at their school level, and about the pedagogical practices being employed by the school to ensure that all children are being catered for. The table template provided will give structure to your analysis and each school statement and the interpretation of policy and inclusion that it presents. A school statement analysis exemplar has been provided for you in the assessment details, and you can also see it here. This is given so that you can clearly see an example of the application of the school's priorities and programs into the table framework. Use this to guide you and assist you with breaking down the information provided into the necessary framework. As stated previously, we will also be looking at another application of this with an example school statement in the live Collaborate. So we're going to break down the statement in regards to fulfilling the expectations of the table as a group. It'll be really valuable for you because you'll be able to actually see this in practice and know exactly what's expected of you for the assessment. So I really encourage you to come along to that live session. Okay, so once your team has completed their individual research and then they've come back together and completed the table for all 3 school statements, you're then going to write an individual personal statement of approximately 500 words, and it answers this question. Based on your team's analysis of the school statements, which pedagogical approaches do you plan to adopt in your own practice to ensure all children are catered for? Think about such approaches and factors as the learning environment, involving communities, inclusive practices and concepts, educational and wellbeing priorities, program language, and so forth to heighten your reflective statements. Also, how does current research support your future plans of what you will adopt within your own classroom to ensure all children are catered for? You must support this individual statement with relevant academic literature drawn from the learning materials and your own wider research through the library of journal articles and things like that. So this is your individual statement in regards to your own future pedagogical practices. However, academic support must be provided to justify your choices. Now, this section can be written in first person, but again, just make sure that you're supporting your ideas. They need to be based off research. Okay. And finally, remember to use all of those resources and experiences available to you, and you will set yourself up for success. Each of these are designed to develop, scaffold, and deepen your understanding to positively impact on your assessment outcomes. So we wish you every success in this assessment task, and we hope to see you at the live session. Okay, take care.